right, hello. As we get more into the bird unit, which we've been doing for the last couple weeks, what I'd like to do is kind of go back to the last unit that we talked about, which was reptiles. And even though birds and reptiles seem different in many different ways, there are a few ways that they're similar. And so what I want to do today is to kind of intro the bird notes. What I'd like to do is talk about reptiles, start talking a little bit more about birds, and then seeing how they're similar. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at how they're similar. Okay, now when we do this, when I've done this as a class, a lot of students will say, "Oh, okay, they're both animals," or they both have eyes, or things like that. But let's now that we're at least halfway through this semester, let's talk about some things that we're more have a better understanding of, and then as opposed to saying that they're both animals. Okay, so one of the first things that is similar between reptiles and birds, and I just want to tell you, pardon my pen thing, so I'm going to try my best to write neatly. Okay, is that both birds and reptiles will lay amniotic eggs. Okay, so if you remember when we talked about reptiles, we talked about how reptiles have the amniotic egg, which is the hard-shelled egg. And that was a big thing in terms of evolution, or a big step in terms of evolution, because what it did was it allowed reptiles to not be as dependent on water to, lay their eggs or give birth. And it also allowed the reptile embryo to be able to develop quickly and efficiently in a relatively dry environment. Okay, so we're going to see that with birds as well. Birds don't always have the access to water. They're found all over the world on pretty much, I believe, every continent has birds on it. So the amniotic egg is something that we'll see with birds as well, and it's something that allows the embryo to develop outside the mother's body, and it also allows it to develop quickly, efficiently, and serves as a sense of protection as well. Okay, the second thing that's this similar between reptiles and birds is that they both secrete uric acid. That's URIC ACID. Okay, and so uric acid is a form of excretion or form of waste that animals will give off. It's different than when we talked about amphibians way back. Amphibians are around water a lot of times, okay? And so when their waste that they excrete is in the form of urea, which can be pretty toxic, so to speak, if it's not very dilute. Well, amphibians have that benefit because they're around water a lot, so they can dilute that waste and they can have it in their bodies and get rid of it just fine. Reptiles and birds, on the other hand, again, don't always have that access to water like amphibians did, so their waste can't be very toxic. Okay, so they produce something called uric acid, which isn't very toxic at all. Okay, it doesn't need to be diluted, obviously, and it's more like a semi-solid mass of waste. Okay, so we mentioned that is because it is a form of acid. If you get bird waste, bird poop on your car, you want to wash it off. Okay, and then I even made a joke that because uric acid is also excreted by reptiles, if a snake were to poop on your car, you also want to wash that off as well, because we know that acids will eat away at the paint. Okay, and the third thing that I want to present to you is that both of these animals have scales. Okay, now a lot of times when you think about a bird, you think, well, it doesn't really have scales. But if we were to look at a bird's feet and a bird's legs, they do have scales. Because keep in mind that if we think about animals, the scales are used for protection. And a bird's feet and legs are pretty much aren't protected by feathers or anything like that. So it keeps their feet from protects their feet from harm, obviously, and then it also will help with them to protect their feet and their legs from freezing when it gets really cold out. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go back to reptiles for a minute. Okay, and when we talk about reptiles, there are a few things that we learned about reptiles. Okay, first of all, we learned that reptiles are cold-blooded. Okay, and if you remember what cold-blooded means, it basically means that it's also called exothermy. Basically, what that means is that a cold-blooded animal has to rely on its environment to heat up or cool off. Okay, so when it's really cold outside, reptiles, what they have to do is they need to rely on the sun or something, or sun themselves to warm up their bodies. Okay, and that's why things like when there's a cold snap in the state of Florida, and we have these iguanas who are in the trees and lizards and things like that that are in the trees. When there's a cold snap and they don't have that mechanism for warming themselves up, they will their body temperatures will drop, and it'll cause them to kind of go into like a dormant state for a while until they can warm up again. Okay, the other thing that reptiles we learned, it's a 3. Okay, as you guys know, that's not a very good 3, but anyways. Okay, and then I always draw a heart, is that reptiles do have a 3-chambered heart. Okay, it is more complex than like a fish heart, which only had 2 chambers, but it's not going to be as complex as what we'll see when we look at the bird's heart in a little bit. Okay, another thing that reptiles have, and this might have been on your, I believe this was on your Unit 2 test, is that they do have dense bones. Okay, why do they have dense bones? Well, if you think about it, amphibians, which was the animal unit we learned about before reptiles, amphibians kind of had lightweight bones. They would want to swim. Amphibians would want to be in the water, and then they also spent part of their time on land. Well, reptiles, one of the things about reptiles that we learned is that reptiles can live exclusively on land. Okay, we have lizards and snakes and things that live in very dry environments, like in the desert, so to speak. And so they need to have dense bones because they need to be able to walk around and move around on land, and their bones have to be able to support that new lifestyle, so to speak. Okay, so they have dense bones, and most reptiles, and we'll talk about an odd one in a little bit, most reptiles have no parental care. Okay, and so parental care, remember, helps ensure that the embryo and the young, the babies, or so to speak, that they can survive. Okay, so when animals take care of their babies, the babies have a better chance of survival. Well, what we learned is one of the animals that was talked about is the sea turtle. Okay, and many of you know that sea turtles do not take care of their babies. So the female turtle will lay her eggs like on a beachy area, and then she just leaves. Okay, so the eggs are sitting there by themselves. They're not, she doesn't incubate them, she doesn't stay with them or anything. The eggs hatch, and then they have to go off, and once they hatch, then the little ones have to go off into the, try to make it to the ocean. Okay, what's interesting is, which is more of a current event right now, is because right now, and I'm talking while we're, a lot of our country is in quarantine, so to speak, and we're not going to the beaches, and we're not, making out to these areas as much. They're seeing that more sea turtles are actually thriving, okay, or they seem like they might be thriving a little bit better than in general because we're not there at the beaches and disrupting their habitats, etc. Okay, and so those are some things that we talked about with reptiles. Now, birds, on the other hand, okay, so birds we know to compare. Birds are warm-blooded. Okay, now we're warm-blooded as well. We're actually not, there's a D there. Okay, we're actually not quite, our body temperatures aren't as high as a bird's body temperatures, but mammals and birds are both warm-blooded creatures, so to speak. And so when we think about warm-blooded, what that means is we can maintain a internal body temperature. Okay, if we go outside and it's, 20 degrees outside and, we're walking to our car or whatever, we do feel cold. Okay, we feel cold, but if we were to take our temperature, it's probably going to be right around 98.6, which is our normal body temperature. Okay, so we maintain that whether it's hot or cold. We generally will maintain a very body temperature similar to 98.6. Obviously, when we get sick, or we go through things like hypothermia, our body temperature changes, but that is not, generally the case. Okay, the other thing is birds do have a four-chambered heart. Okay, so the two, and I'll squeeze in my little heart here, two atria and two ventricles, okay, which we have as well. Okay, birds actually have lightweight bones. Okay, which we'll talk about when we talk about in our when we start talking a little bit more about our notes. Lightweight bones. Birds do have really the parental care. They do display a lot of parental care. Both male and female will incubate the eggs. Both male and female parents will also nurture or bring food to the babies. Okay, a couple other things that distinguishes birds do have feathers, obviously. We can go back and put no feathers if we want for reptiles. And then birds do have the ability to fly. Okay, now flight, if I forget to mention it later in the notes, flight is such a big thing for birds. So when we talked about fish, they adapted to survive in the water. When we talked about amphibians, they adapted to survive in the water and start moving to land. Reptiles, their adaptations means that they can live exclusively on land. Birds, because most birds do fly, they're or a lot of birds do fly. Obviously, there's some that don't. But many of these birds, their structure, their body structure, their way of life is designed for flight. Okay, so that's a really big thing for birds. Their body structure, everything, their niche, everything is basically designed for flight. Okay, very quickly before I end this, one of the things I want to point out is that when we were talking about reptiles, and I don't know if anybody, some of us, we got through a little bit further in our notes. The crocodile displays parental care. Okay, the crocodile, the mother will stay with her babies for 2 years. Sometimes she'll put her baby in her mouth to protect it from predators, etc. So the crocodile does present a lot of parental care. And the other thing that's unique about a crocodile is a crocodile actually does have a four-chambered heart. Now, it is not warm-blooded, so it's not really like a bird. However, if we think of the evolutionary chain, so to speak, in the reptile order, what we're going to see is that the crocodile is probably further along, okay, because it's an animal is starting to display parental care like the warm-blooded animals do, and it also has a four-chambered heart like the warm-blooded animals do. However, it's cold-blooded, and so it would stay with the reptile order. Okay, so there's our similarities, there are differences, and now as we progress into the bird unit, we'll start to see learn a little bit more about birds, but now we can see a good transition here between reptiles and birds.